All right, now this is an easy topic because someone was just it was just in a comment. Um, Someone sent a message on Facebook, which when I get a message on Facebook, I'm like, because it's rare. Either it's going to be an inappropriate type of Facebook message from some bot or spam or something, or I never get one, or B, it's someone asking for me to hook them up. It's typically what it is. And that's okay. I mean, whatever, right? But this one was they want to visit, but they're concerned of the closures of businesses or anything. Is anything opening? What's going on right now? We haven't heard much. And they talk about New York being the epicenter of the sickness, but it started here. Now, I don't know technically, truthfully. I mean, who knows? I'm not some sort of virologist and I can tell, like, hey, it started. The first documented that we know of started in Everett or near Everett, Washington. So since then, before I get into that, make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. We talk about a lot of things. Recently, the topic has been cryptocurrency. We've been talking a lot about that. And I might even do a video about that because I've been talking about investing in it and all of that. But anyway, let's get back on topic. So join the Discord down in the description box below. So we were, I assume, the first place here in the U.S. that had it, and Noelle and I did a video talking about. I think that we had it. Our family got sick with it back in February of last year because we were sick, very sick, and not just the sick that you would think, because even the dog got sick. We were nauseous. First off, the coughing. All of us were coughing. Very tired, just very tired. I remember having a fever that was not super insane. It was kind of similar to the fever I had before I had my gallbladder taken out, that infection. I would get a fever that was not super high or anything like that, but you would notice it and you would be tired. So this was similar, and I'm like, but why am I getting this shouldn't be the case, because I had my gallbladder out for a bit. And so I remember that. We all were like that, had a low-grade fever, and I'm saying like 100 or 101, something like that. And I guess that's low grade. So we didn't feel good. Then comes we had it was coming out of both ends. And not at the same time or anything like that. I've had that circumstance before. It's not fun. I don't mean to gross you guys out, but not fun. That was years ago. But anyway, so it was just weird. And then, like I didn't actually throw up, but I felt like it. Everybody else did. Now I felt like it. I was like, ooh, this reminds me back when I was like 25 and I was out there in the club. This is how that felt. I'm like, ugh. And then the dog got sick and did the exact same thing. Now, you can't go on if he's tired and sleeps around a lot, because that's all he does anyway. But just out of the blue, just throwing up. So we think that we had something back then, because this is a international, obviously international city. You have a lot of people coming in all the time. So maybe it was. We don't know. Since then, it has been a year of nothing but just restrictions and frustrations. There's a lot of businesses that are gone. And that is so unfortunate. There's a lot of them that are modifying what they do. Recently there's a clothing store downtown called Bleach. And they have pretty cool stuff. And they're going completely online now. And so they're losing their storefront. And Stocklist is another company downtown right next door to them, and we are decent friends with them. They're taking over that lease and expanding their footprint, which is great, because Stocklist is some pretty cool stuff. And to see them grow to what they are now is amazing. But unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of businesses close down. You don't see a lot of the success stories that you see with Stocklist as they're expanding, because they're on the same area. But the sickness and the restrictions have actually created a big, big problem. Big problem. And if you are a business that was able to hang on, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, things have gotten a whole lot better in terms of retail business. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a second. But you've had a lot of restaurants, especially up in Seattle, just shut. Like they're done, never coming back again. And you've had a few here that have also done the same thing. We lost a brewery or two and all of that. However, I gotta fix my collar. It's all just ragged. But anyway, so you've seen a couple of things like that. Things are starting to open back up. Recently, I think it's on the 22nd, the governor has said that restaurants can open up to 50% capacity. Just recently, they were allowed to do 25%. But really, 25% does nothing. Because some of these places, if you do 25% capacity, it's enough to hold just a couple. Like one table with husband and wife, maybe the kids. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be any sort of restrictions or anything like that. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think, excuse me, as I said before, I think that the governor's restrictions have been a little heavy-handed and not targeted in the way that I had hoped. Now, in the very beginning of this, did a lot of great things, a lot of wonderful things. I think as time has went on, it has not been well thought out. It's been a little overkill. And I even said the same thing about Hawaii. Some of the things that they did in Hawaii was a bit overkill. And what they've done is just tank their economy. Now, I'm not saying go and just let everything open up. But on the same token, I think there were certain things that could have been done, which would have been a whole heck of a lot better. In Hawaii's circumstance, and even in Washington's circumstance, make places, employers, have folks who work there test negative. Go get frequent tests. Those tests are free. Have them go, and some of them are rapid tests. If the employer wants to do a rapid test, cool. But every week or so, have them go and get tested. Also make sure that they wear face shield and mask. Now, that may sound like overkill, but that's a lot better than what was done, especially in the case of Hawaii. It was just silly. I know that the island doesn't have a lot of hospitals and people were concerned, but basically you now have damage done to the economy that's going to take a long time. And also Hawaii just got hit, I think, with a whole lot of flooding. It's a very delicate economy there. So it's going to take a long time for them to rebound as opposed to here, because it takes a lot of money to get there. It's expensive to get there anyway. And then you pile all this other stuff on, people are like, again, they'll vote with their feet. They'll go to the Virgin Islands or they'll go someplace else where it's not so heavy-handed. And it doesn't work. It's like, you can't come here at all. That works because you won't get a lot of bringing it in, but at the same token, there's things that you can do. I think that the restaurants could have been at 50% or at least 25% early on as opposed to nothing. You can't have nothing. And then later in the game, they were saying, well, you can have outdoor eating and stuff like that, but it's cold. You know what I mean? Like there's things that doesn't make sense. Now they're opening it up to 50%. What you're seeing now to people who are coming here and they want to know if things are open, things are opening back up. Now retail spaces and restaurants are allowed to have 50%. That's a whole lot better than what it was, especially for restaurants who really are at a very thin, even some of the high-end places. It's a very thin margin of what they're making. And so when you have a place that's just serving food, especially affordable food for students, the population here, they can't make it. These stores can't make it, especially when a lot of government folks are wanting people to pay more. They want higher wages for people, but you're not cutting the taxes that businesses need. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're especially during this situation, during the sickness, you're still expected to pay. If you're bringing in no revenue, you have to tell them no revenue, but you're still expected to pay. Not only that, but your mortgage, if you're a restaurant and you're renting out or leasing out a space, you're bringing in no revenue. However, you still have to pay that lease. You still have to, if you make a buck, you still have to pay taxes on that to the state and the local government and the county. And you have to pay your employees if you don't want them to go to starve. So it's like, what do you do? So it created a disaster. Instead, the government should have said, look, we're not going to collect taxes from businesses. We're not going to do that because you're never going to recover if we do that. Right? It's a matter of electing people who are attorneys, but yet they don't go and punch a clock every day and work in the grunt and the grind every single day of everyday people. It's different. And so when you see how businesses in the whole area, how they've actually, because someone else asked me to talk about my frustrations of owning the business here. This kind of ties into it. I haven't posted that video, so I don't need to now because I'm going to go into it. But that's part of the frustration. Like, there should have been some sort of pullback in terms of the government sucking all that money, which still didn't help because now those businesses are gone. So you're missing tax revenue that's never going to come because they're gone. So a lot of those businesses gone. Those landlords gone because they don't have the money. And then when you have moratoriums, which I agree, I don't think that people should just be flailing and they don't have a job and they can't pay their mortgage or their rent. I'm not saying kick them out, but the government should have found ways to support landlords who don't have the money because the people that are renting to them don't have the money. They should have eased property tax, all of these things. The government should take a hit, but that didn't happen. So now you have it where nobody's getting no money. If I can't make no money, you ain't going to make no money. So the governor had no choice but to say, let's do 50%. Even when there's all these different, before there wasn't all these different variants and none of that. Of course, there was no vaccine, but there was no variants. And the vaccines they're giving are to people who are not as much in the workforce as you think. It's mostly people who are, you have now, just now, they're opening it up to potentially teachers. But it's all hospital staff, which I agree they should, and elderly, and folks in the nursing home. That's the only people here in Washington State that has been getting the shot. That's it. That is not the bulk of what is walking around when you go to Tacoma, Seattle, or wherever. So the very slow, snail-paced process, which is not necessarily the state's fault, I guess, but there's some states that are already opening it up to anybody. But the slow, very grandfather approach of let me check and make sure all of our I's and T's are done, and all of our T's are crossed and all of our I's are dotted. Let me make sure, let me check, I'll get back to you tomorrow. That type of crap is just not working. And so you have people who are in the workforce constantly, working in offices, working in restaurant industries or whatever. Boom, they're just there. And even if you do vaccinate the people who are working in the restaurant industry, you're still not tackling people who are in, or grocery workers, which I agree. I think everybody should. But you're still not tackling, you're tackling a slice of the general public, but you still have a big bulk of people who make up the workforce. Manufacturing is big here. Logistics are big here. The shipping industry is big here. Tech workers, the biggest employers are tech folk. Nope. They get to stay home. But them staying home is affecting the restaurant industries up in Seattle. I'm not trying to be mean, but the elderly are not going to the restaurants down there in downtown Seattle. I know that sounds wrong, but they're not. And the approaches that were done, I just think were not done correctly. Now, that's Monday morning quarterbacking. I get it. But that's my honest opinion. Things are now going haywire. Why? Not haywire in a bad way, but haywire in a good way. You have people saying, screw it. The non-vaccinated people are the ones out there now overloading everything. Last weekend, the studio was solid booked. to the point of where we had to start moving tables outside the studio because people are tired of being, who knows when you're going to get the shot? Who knows when I'm going to get it? It'll probably be December. And people are like, I'm not staying 2 years of my life of where I can't do stuff. Like, this is stupid. So now you have people saying, no, I'm gonna wear my mask. I do all that stuff. I appreciate that because I do think you should definitely do that. I do think that you should socially distance, but it's like, damn, how much longer is it going to take to where I can't do nothing? I can't, people are saying that, the grandparents are wanting to hug their kids. That's still a danger. That's still a danger. And so now you have parents who are saying, yeah, I can take my kid to, see their grandma or grandpa or whatever the case may be. And they've been vaccinated, hopefully. That's cool and all. But on the same token, teachers aren't getting the shot, but we're putting all the kids back in school. It's just silly. And so you have a situation where now people are saying, you know what, I'm not staying home. Everything is booked. Like, I went past McMenamins. They have outside tents, just people. People. Right? Downtown, the traffic in Tacoma is ridiculous. Right? Like, and I've noticed, like, hardly anybody on the streets, like, okay, cool. To now, just like, it's worse than I've ever seen traffic, ever. Like, it's just horrible because people are tired. They're tired of being cooped up. Today, people are waiting on Noelle to open up the gates to the studio. Like, a bunch of people packed. She just slammed. Last weekend, she was so busy that she said, I'm going to have to bring one of the kids to help. The number of parties almost overlapping each other at our studio, to give you an idea, because people are tired. Go to some of the breweries. I went to a brewery the other day to basically try to do business with them, and the guy was like in there super early just to crank out enough beer because places are running out of stuff, because people are literally saying, I can't do it no more. I'll wear a mask, I'll wear a spacesuit, but I just can't do it anymore. We're going into, it's a solid year now. But by the time the people I'm talking about who are out here shopping and just busy doing stuff, by the time they actually get a shot in this state, it'll be like October, it'll be Halloween. And so it's like people are, even though people are saying, well, May, you are eligible. I might be eligible, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. It'll be October, especially my age group. Come on. It'll be a long time. Long time. If you look at the state's mandates of who can get this, is people over the age of 50. This was they're talking about in the summer. People over 50 with 2 or more morbidities or something. Like, morbidities or whatever it's called. Like, really? In the summer of 2021, they're talking, the way that the plan was going to go was people over the age of 50 with 2 or more comorbidities and all this other stuff. So still missing a giant chunk of the population of people. And so you have a lot of people, especially young people, the people who are in college, who are like, can't do it no more. They're out and about. And that's the population that we really and truly should be very focused on, because they're doing all the parties, all the stuff, all of this, all of that. They have no other outlet. You want to be able, and I get it. And I'm not saying just go willy-nilly and don't care, but it's like, dang, do something. And so now, because the state's bank account is starting to take a hit, there's restrictions being eased, even though right now is not the greatest time to necessarily do it. It's been so restricted for so long that they have to ease it. They have to. And so, yeah, to answer your questions, things are definitely opening back up. The 22nd, if you can hold off until the 22nd, I believe, or whatever, you'll probably be able to experience a little bit more, because you're starting to see more things start to have greater capacity. And again, even at 50%, there's some that it's not going to help. Some of these restaurants, even at 50%, it's still not going to be much, because depends on the layout. So, big, huge places, they can have a little bit more folks in there, but they're still going to have reduced staff because they're working on thin margins to begin with. You bring folks in, and some folks just want to go out and have a beer. They're like, food is cool and all, but I just want to be able to have a beer and look and see a stranger. Oh, look, there's a stranger over there, and I'm having a beer. You know what I mean? It's not like the pictures you see in some places where it's just jam-packed and people are like this and they're strangers and they're all sipping a beer. It's not like that. But it's baby steps. And I agree that there should be baby steps to a certain degree, but not as restrictive as it has been. And I think that if we were to ease up a little bit, if the government eases a little bit, we'll be all right. And I think that if they will focus on starting to vaccinate more and more and more people who are in the general population, more so, then you will start to see more of a decline. But by the way that they're doing it and the tack that they're taking, and I get it, people will say, well, the younger folks are more likely to survive. That's not always the case. And as a result of that kind of thinking, we're having more situations of all these different variants, which will basically could make some of these vaccines very ineffective. Not the case yet, but we don't know what the circumstance is. And by the time it finally gets to someone who's 20 years old, hell, it'd be the year 2022. So it's like you got all this time of them saying, you know what, I want to be out and I want to be, able to do things. Colleges are starting to open back up again with a bunch of people who have no vaccines. So none of the professors, unless they're older, none of the students, none of the staff will be vaccinated, but you're opening up full-fledged colleges. It's stupid. In my opinion, I think that the way that I can't speak of other states, whatever. I don't live in all these other states. I'm talking about here. I think that the plan should be a lot better. I think that the vaccination centers should be a lot bigger and there should be more of them than what they're doing. I think that we just take, for example, here, the Tacoma Dome. They've had that drive. Again, it's for older people where you can sign up. It was only open for 20 minutes. It was totally booked. All the spots filled, because you have a lot of people that want to do it. But if you start to open this up and use schools, which you have a lot of schools, start using schools where folks can drive through and use the outdoors to get vaccinations. You have all of the drugstores. If you start having them help, instead of just the government having a heavy hand, that's the thing. Control, control, control. If the government can control what's going on, they feel better. But it's like, from the things I've done, projects I've done before that involve cities, governments are great at spending money and collecting money. That's about it. They're good at spending it, and collecting it. They're great at that. They get an A. But as far as spending the way that they need to and doing it the most effective, efficient way, not at all. And so I think that by literally businesses understand how money works and how to make money, the government takes it. I'm not anti-government or anything like that. I'm just speaking facts. They know how to spend it, and they know how to spend it very well, and they overspend on things that they shouldn't. But businesses understand, like, hey, I got this much money and I'm going to work within these margins. I can't print more. I can't beg for more. I can beg all day long and I'm going to still have this much money. States can beg and beg and beg and get extra money. So I think that having businesses take over and start the distribution process is by far better. Walmart has a better distribution plan than anything the government can come up with. Same thing with Amazon. To me, you should use what you have. Couple that with using the military as well. But other than that, what the states are doing is like slowpoke. Some states are doing better than others. I'll give you that. But it's just like... So yeah, to answer your question and me going on all my tangents, yes, things are opening up a lot more. Wait until the 22nd if you can. There's a lot of things that still aren't going to be as popping as what they used to be. You're going to have some businesses that are completely closed that were favorites. But yeah, you're starting to see a little bit more about what Tacoma is and what it has to offer. I don't know about Seattle. I'm not up there, but I would imagine similar. Some of the things are starting to open back up again. You can definitely experience a lot more. You're not going to have the tourism crunch that you normally have up in Seattle. So for some, that's a good thing. For others, they're going to miss what that is like because it's an experience all on its own. Down here, nothing's changed. We don't get a lot of tourists. So what you're seeing now is what you're going to see typically at any time. Just a little bit less crowded. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.